NAHOO TV በዩቲዩብ ቻናል ፕሮግራማችንን ይወዷቸዋልና ላይክ ለማድረግ ጥብቅ ቤተሰባችን ለመሆን ሰብስክራይብ የምትለዋን በተን ለመጫን ጊዜው አሁን ነው።
ሰላም ጤና ይስጥልን ውድ የዲፕሎማሲ ሾው ፕሮግራማችን ተከታታዮች የዛሬው ፕሮግራማችን የኢትዮጵያ ሀገራችንና የሜክሲኮን ግንኙነት የሚዳስስ ነው የሚሆነው። እንደምታውቁት ሜክሲኮ የስፓኒሽ ቋንቋ ተናጋሪዎች ያሉባት ከ120 ሚሊዮን በላይ ህዝብ የሚኖርባት ሀገር ስትሆን ሜክሲኮና ኢትዮጵያ የዲፕሎማሲያዊ ግንኙነታቸውን የጀመሩት የሁለተኛው ዓለም ጦርነት እንዳበቃ ከጥቂት ዓመታት በኋላ ማለትም እንደ አውሮፓውያን አቆጣጠር በ1949 ዓመተ ምህረት እንደሆነ ይነገራል። በዚሁም ግንኙነታቸው አድጎ በ1963 ዓመተ ምህረት ሁለቱ ሀገራት በመዲናዎቻቸው ላይ ኤምባሲዎቻቸውን ሊከፍቱ ችለዋል። በዚህም በወቅቱ ኢትዮጵያን ይመሩ የነበሩት ቀዳማዊ ኃይለ ሥላሴ በ1954 ዓመተ ምህረት የመጀመሪያውን ይፋዊ ጉብኝት ወደ ሜክሲኮ ያደረጉ አፍሪካዊ መሪም ነበሩ። እንግዲህ ሁላችንም እንደምናውቀው በመዲናችን አዲስ አበባ በሜክሲኮ ስም የተሰየመ አደባባይና ቦታ እናገኛለን። በተመሳሳይ ደግሞ በሜክሲኮ ሲቲ ማለትም በሜክሲኮ ዋና ከተማም እንደዚሁ ፕላዛ ኢትዮጵያ የሚል አደባባይ በስሟ ተሰይሞላታል። ይሄ እንግዲህ የሚያሳየን ሁለቱ ሀገሮች ያላቸውን ጥብቅ ግንኙነት ነው። ሌሎችንም ያላቸውን ጥብቅ ግንኙነቶች ደግሞ በሌላ ፕሮግራማችን እስከምንመለስባቸው ደግሞ አሁን ከአምባሳደር ቪክቶር ኢማኑኤላ ጋር በተለይ ያደረገችው ቆይታ ደግሞ ተከታትለን ተመልሰናል። ሰላም ጤና ይስጥልን ተመልካቾቻችን ዛሬ በዚህ በሜክሲኮ ኤምባሲ ከሜክሲኮ አምባሳደር ጋር ቆይታ ይኖረናል። አብራችሁን ቆዩ። Your Excellency, thank you for this interview. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, salam. My name is Victor Treviño. I'm the ambassador of Mexico here in Ethiopia since 2016.
When did you come first to Ethiopia? Was it the time you were appointed, or you came earlier before your appointment?
No, I arrived 2 months before my formal appointment. The formality is to present the credentials to the president, and well, we arrived before. And I was very lucky that just in 2 months I present my credentials here.
What was your first impression when you arrived in Ethiopia?
Well, my first impression is that we have a lot of similarities between Ethiopia and Mexico, particularly in terms of our people-to-people relation, that we have family values, and we are also a society that are very religious, and we have that in common with Ethiopia, and that we are very proud people about our culture and our heritage.
Yes, so Ethiopia and Mexico started their relationship back in the time of the king. So by the time when Italian occupation happened, Mexico was one of the 5 countries to stand with Ethiopia. Can you tell me about that history?
Yes, of course. We have a very important position in the former United Nations, the League of Nations. We work together, and we present a position to condemn the Italian invasion to Ethiopia, because our principles of foreign policy mention no intervention and self-determination. And for us, it's part of our constitution, and that's why we support Ethiopia at that time.
Yes, so because of that, King Haile Selassie was the first African black king to visit Mexico. I think the diplomatic relationship started then.
Yes, well, even before. As soon as the Second World War ends, we established relations in 1949, in November, by the way.
Yes.
And we achieved 69 years of diplomatic relations, and well, we need to work together to have a big celebration during 2019 that we want to achieve 70 years of diplomatic relations. After that, in the 1950s, 1954, 1955, the Emperor Haile Selassie visited Mexico and was a big success. It's a history about the different newspapers and the radio at that time and TV that was very important for us, the visit of the emperor, and he recognized the position of Mexico that was very brave, very supporting, and well, we are friends in all weather conditions since then. One of the achievements of that visit is the emperor decided that in recognition of Mexico, the Mexico Square will be named in the city of Addis Ababa. In reciprocity, Mexico has also Ethiopian roundabout in Mexico City, and also we have a metro subway station with a beautiful lion representing Ethiopia.
After 70 years of diplomatic relationship, where are we now, right now?
Well, we think we have a beautiful history together. We have, despite the distance, these common values. We are almost share the positions in the international organizations. We support each other in our candidacies, like we support the former Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Health, Dr. Tedros, to be in the World Health Organization. We received the support of Ethiopian Mexican candidacies too. We share some positions in the United Nations too. And we are countries that we are very key to work together in terms of South-South cooperation. We are not a country that make donations because we are in the same stage like Ethiopia as a country that we need to do something for our poor people, and the policies of the governments are working in that endeavor, and we are sharing best practices between Ethiopia and Mexico. That is one of the things that we enhance, and through the cooperation we are working together during all these years.
So when it comes to trade, we know Ethiopia and Mexico has a good trade relationship, and we know also the Ethiopian Airlines cargo started flying to Mexico. Can you tell me about the trade relationship, the volume we have right now, and how is the cargo transport changing it?
Well, I think we need to be honest. We need to it's necessary to grow our trade relation. Of course, the cargo flight of Ethiopian is one of the kickoffs. We need to evaluate it because it's just very recently, but we notice that we have more products now. The idea is to increase the exchange between both countries. The first export product from Mexico now is medicines to Ethiopia, but also we want to have more ingredients here of our Mexican food, our gastronomic heritage, also to share with Ethiopia. Maybe in the near future we're going to have a restaurant, Mexican restaurant here, but we have some now that are flourish here in Addis, and we need to have more products of Ethiopia and Mexico, like the wonderful coffee, the different products that you agro-export to our country, and why not to have this exchange, as we have the gastronomic week here of Mexican, providing our Mexican heritage, to have also the Ethiopian food, the injera, ambuna, yes, in my country.
Yes. So what do you say to the business people? How do they, for business people in Ethiopia who wants to invest in Mexico, or Mexican investors coming to Ethiopia, what does your embassy do?
Well, we are working. Just a week ago, we have a business forum with our partners of MICTA. MICTA is 5 countries. The 5 countries are part of the G20, Mexico, Indonesia, South Korea, Turkey, and Australia. And we are developed some strategies here with the Chamber of Commerce, with the authorities of Ethiopia, the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Finance, to work together to take advantage about the new positions and reforms of the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in terms of the open and incentives that Ethiopia are offering to the investors, and Mexico will not be the exception.
Besides this, what's your embassy's role in Addis Ababa?
Well, we are working also in terms of some specific areas, particularly in agriculture. We are working with a concept note that the Ministry of Agriculture sent to Mexico in order to identify different areas of cooperation. Just this week, at the beginning of this week, 2 Mexican scientists came from the University of Guadalajara to work in terms of the plague of cochineal in the Tigray region. In that region, you have a lot of beles. And the beles are very important here in Ethiopia for the fruit, to serve as a fence of the different properties in the agricultural, and also to provide food for the animals. We are working now to control the cochineal. We bring some natural enemies, and we are working very close with the Tigray region authorities, with the president, and also with the presidents of the universities of Mekelle and Adigrat. And we have a protocol that we are developing now to control the cochineal plague in the Tigray. That's one of the most important achievements that we have. Different experts for Ethiopia already visit Mexico to have more knowledge about that, because I don't know if you are aware, but the cactus beles came from Mexico. The missionaries bring to the continent, the African continent, and particularly to Ethiopia. And for Mexico, the cactus beles are very important. It's also part of our national heritage gastronomic way to eat. We have salads, and we prepare different components, and also in the pharmaceutical industry. The cactus beles is not just to enjoy the fruit. We have that also as pills for reduce some agricultural organization that is part of the United Nations are very interesting to expand the cooperation between Ethiopia and Mexico in other regions of Ethiopia, and besides Ethiopia in other countries.
Yeah, while you were saying the gastronomic week, the 6th gastronomic week of Mexico happened last month. Can you tell me about that? How did it help for the Ethiopian community to know the Mexican culture?
Well, first, we have a great respect for the gastronomic food that you have in Ethiopia. I think the most important in Africa, and in the case of Latin America and of the Americas, I think the Mexican food at the north and the Peruvian at the south are the more world recognized. I think it's important to exchange these experiences. It's another options that the Ethiopian residents and people from this beautiful country has the opportunity to have access through these experiences to know something about our food. For example, in our case, we use the cactus beles, but also we use another kind of insects, and we share that experience with you. And well, you have the injera, we use the tortilla, particularly the corn tortilla, we have flour tortilla too, but we have similarities. You have here the shiro, and we have the mole, that is like a Mexican curry. We have different spices. Our food are spicy as the Ethiopian. And well, we have another way to enhance our relation to share this kind of experience.
Next year, we will have this gastronomic week?
Yes, of course. We are working to continue with this tradition. And we want to share this cultural heritage recognized by the UNESCO. The Mexican food is recognized as a cultural heritage of the world. And we have another areas that we want to explore. We want to have a new government in Mexico in December. And we have a different areas of cooperation, agricultural, of course. I think tourism. Ethiopia deserves to have with the best and the most important airline in the African continent, that is Ethiopian Airlines, and that we are working now together in these cargo flights. I hope in the future Ethiopia receive more tourism, because we have another similarity. Mexico is the country with most cultural heritage sites recognized by UNESCO in the Americas. In the case of Ethiopia, Ethiopia and South Africa are the #1 in Africa. But the number of tourist recipients here are not in the top 5. And Ethiopia deserves to have more tourism. I think we can exchange some information, some best practices with our counterparts here with Ethiopia in order to enhance and increase the number of tourism here. I think that is something very important. And with the open economy that and reforms that are promoting for the new the new government of Ethiopia, particularly since April with the Prime Minister Abiy, I think you will be in the right path to have more tourism here in your beautiful country.
Yeah, we had celebrated the Day of the Date, which is very famous in Mexico. Can you tell me about that? It was very fascinating for me, so that we can share it with the audience. Can you tell me how it started to be celebrated, and what is the celebration about, and
Yes.
how do you celebrate it?
Of course, for us, it's a long tradition. Came from our indigenous roots before Christ. When we have Mexico was colonized by Spain, we have some syncretism, and we are still using the indigenous beliefs related with the dead. That doesn't mean that we don't respect the dead, but we know that we need to be in contact with our loved ones that pass away. The Day of the Dead, particularly the 2nd of November, is not related with Halloween. It's related with the beliefs and the importance to share, at least that day, with our loved ones. And that's the tradition in the case of Mexico that we want to promote here, because it's also considered by UNESCO as a intangible cultural heritage. We thought a lot if with the important beliefs and religious people of Ethiopia, it would be a good idea. We start for the first time last year, we make a program in Spanish, where we say, it's time to do in Ethiopia, in Amharic, and also in English, because we notice with the Hollywood provides some insight about the Day of the Dead with the movie Coco, and also with the movie, one of the last movies of James Bond, that talking about Mexico and the Day of the Dead. And say, well, we are ready. What will be the altar dedicated in this year? And we found that in these traditions and historical links between Ethiopia and Mexico, we found that in 1968, during the Mexican Olympics, the Ethiopian athlete, Mamo Wolde, won the gold medal in our in Olympics Games in 1968. And we found a video that we want to share with the Ethiopian. A lot of people in Ethiopia knows about Mamo Wolde, but never had the opportunity to see him during the race. And also in that marathon, the first legend of the marathon in Ethiopia, Abebe Bikila, was part of that. He was well injured, but he started with the number 1, and he passed the responsibility to Mama Walde in the kilometer 17. And that's why we decided to make an altar, as you have in your image in your TV programs that you're going to pass. You have the opportunity to see, well, in the altar, some trophies, some medals, and the number 24 that represents the share of Mama Walde at the moment that he won the gold medal in Mexico. And well, we want to share this with some traditions of Mexico regarding with the altar, but with the food and some elements of Ethiopia. We put injera in the altar, we put buna, we put the different elements, also the tej, and different elements that provide the beautiful crosses that you have in your country and are part of the altar. We use also papel picado with Ethiopiano abeja motifs, and well, I think we have a very good experience, and I hope you enjoy it, and the people that are watching this program enjoy the altar that you're going to show.
So we were talking about the Day of the Dead. Can you tell me about this picture?
Yeah, this is an example of the family values that we share in the Day of the Dead. You can see the mother and the kids. In the, well, unfortunately, the father passed away of the kids, but during the November the 2nd, during the Day of the Dead commemoration, they go into the cemetery with the favorite food of the person that passed away and share the food together. And they remember that they clean the everything here, put flowers, and remember with some histories about, remember your father said that, and he loves to eat this kind of food. Well, they share. That is an opportunity to share with the family, and at least you consider, that is our belief, that the deceased are coming to earth during that day to be with the loved ones. And that's the way that we are working.
So Ethiopian audience mostly know Mexico through the movies. Can you, what do they say when they see your embassy or your flag?
Well, normally say Acapulco.
Acapulco.
Acapulco. And also, well, we have a very well-known directors in Hollywood that they won the Oscars, different Iñárritu, and also, well, the different movies like just del Guillermo del Toro, Alfonso Cuarón, artists like Salma Hayek. Well, we are very famous for that, and we have a very good movies also in the old times. And well, I think for the values, as I mentioned, the family values, the people told me, I like your country because we consider that they're very similar, no? And I found that it's very similar our culture. Despite that we are too far, we are close in terms of beliefs, and really I'm happy to be ambassador. It's a privilege to be ambassador of Mexico in Ethiopia.
So when we were talking earlier, you were saying we were talking about MICTA. So I know you're part of the MICTA partnership. What have you so far done through the MICTA?
Well, MICTA is middle powers, like all these countries are part of the G20s. The G20 also summit will be at the end of this year. Also, we are supporting some of the multilateral and global agenda in terms of human rights, in terms of promotion of economy, and G20 is one of those opportunities. And African Union also is the connection here. Ethiopia is the headquarters of the African Union. Everybody considers that Ethiopia is the capital of Africa, and MICTA are working with Ethiopia and also with the African Union. and we expect that the representation of the African Union will be in Buenos Aires at the end of this year in the G20, and also in Morocco in December with the Global Compact for Migration that Mexico is one of the co-facilitators with Switzerland to have a document that will be important in terms of what is migration and what will be the position globally to face this important challenge of migration.
Yes. So since you brought the migration case, we know Ethiopia as being one of the country of origin for immigrants from Ethiopia to Europe. And now your country also has an issue with the United States. Can you comment on that?
Yes, of course. Well, we need to share the responsibility. Mexico is a country as Ethiopia of origin, but also a country of transit and destination. Because during the different wars, for example, in the Second War, we received refugees from Spain. In the 70s and 80s, from our brothers and sisters in Latin America, from El Salvador, Guatemala, even from Chile. And now, well, we have to face this challenge of people that are coming in this caravan from Honduras, and we are doing the same thing that we are asking to the United States, to provide kindness, to provide opportunities to them, but they ask to have the proper documents to enter the country. We are providing legal residence, and we accept them as a country that we know what is the phenomenon of the migration, to know that they are looking for the best opportunities to the families. And that is why Mexico is involved in this Global Compact for Migration. I think we need to share the responsibility with the countries like the big countries like the United States, and that's the way that we are working, very responsible with them. We are not making noise in terms of walls, etc., but to provide the human, to respect the human rights of the migrants, and to provide opportunities to the refugees to establish in a country, in this case Mexico, that they are welcome.
Will the wall that Trump is planning to build affect Mexico?
Well, I think that's some political statement. I'm not now in the United States. I was former Consul General in the United States, particularly in Arizona and Texas before. But every country has the right to make their own choices. The only thing that we mentioned very clear is that we are not paying for a wall that are building in their own territory, no? But we recognize the interdependence between Mexico and the United States and even Canada. As part of NAFTA, we renew our trade agreement, and we share more than 3,200 kilometers of border. We have a lot of links between the border communities in both sides in terms of family, traditions, and trade. Every minute we have $1 million of exchange, and that is why, well, we need to have different topics in the agenda, different approach, and it's not necessary to contaminate just with what position, for example, the wall, when we have a lot of links. And we need to be very, as the Ethiopian, Mexico is a country with a lot of dignity and a lot of pride, and we represent that with the United States. Say, well, we respect your position, but we have our position, and we need to find out what is the best way to work together. And I think we are working on that, in that path.
So one of the ways to link people to people is education. So is there any plan Mexico has to make with Ethiopia in terms of exchange programs like in education?
Yes, Mexico provides some scholarships. Now we have 2 scholarships for postgraduates in Mexico, Ethiopians that are studying there. And we have different programs for different areas, including diplomacy, including languages, and we are working together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and related with the scholarships. I hope also the opportunity to enhance our relations through this celebration or commemoration of the 70-year anniversary next year will be an opportunity to open more scholarships, more exchange, experts from Mexico coming here and experts from Ethiopia. In Mexico, we need to share a lot of experience in terms of the diaspora that you have, not just in Europe, even in the United States, in Washington, D.C. or Minnesota, you have a very important diaspora. Mexico has some knowledge about that. We have 50 consulates in the United States, 50, and I think we can exchange also best practices to work with the diaspora. It's not that the diaspora has the same political beliefs, but we need to find what is the best way to work together for the people of our country with our diasporas. And it's something that I think is another avenue, another opportunity to exchange more relation between Ethiopia and Mexico.
So let's talk about the communities both countries have. For example, do we have a community in Mexico, Ethiopian communities? If there's, how vibrant are they, how active are they, and what are they engaged in? And also in Ethiopia, how many Mexican community do we have, and what are the engagements they have here?
I think in terms of population, because we are very similar, and Ethiopia right now is more than 100 million people, but you have a big diaspora. In Mexico, we are also around 120 million persons in our country, but we have 11 or 12 millions in the United States, for example. In Ethiopia, we don't have a big community, but I'm very proud of the Mexican community here, professionals. Some of them are pilots from Ethiopian Airlines. Some of them are missionaries working in different regions of Ethiopia. We have one scientific member of the Agricultural Transformation Agency of Ethiopia. We have people in CIMIT, in international organizations. Here are people, our community are very involved, very professional in the different areas of Ethiopia. Also, your country has not a big amount of diaspora, but they have connections, particularly in the border regions. You have people that are studying or working in some states at the border, and they have frequent contacts with Mexico. And well, we need to enhance, we need to find out what is the best way to link. But one of them will be to exchange our different traditions through the cultural events. And that's why next year we expect to have one big exhibition together about these 70 years of relationship, and also to bring some culture as the Mexican Day of the Dead, the gastronomic food, and also another events to link each other with Ethiopia, and to have the opportunity to this legacy will be for the new generation, because I found out that Ethiopian people of my age and older, they know about Mexico and Ethiopia in terms of the position last century. But we need to provide also the new generations with the history, and that Mexico is a friend of Ethiopia in all weather circumstances.
So I'll ask you very informal questions. So you've lived here for the past 2 years, and so Do you know any Amharic word, or if you know any Amharic word you wanted to share with us?
Amasekanalo. Abekech buna.
Okay. Very nice. So which Ethiopian food do you love most?
Well, I love the shiro. The shiro tagabino. And furfur.
Okay.
And of course, I consider the buna the best in the world.
Okay. So for my last question will be, what is the most significant thing you wanted to achieve before leaving this country or being appointed to other country?
Well, I think we need to do something, and we are working with the mayor, the acting mayor of Ethiopia, in terms of the Mexico Square. I think with this renovation and this urban, vibrant city, we need to do something to remember the legacy of our ancestors in terms of working together, why Mexico Square is named. And I think we need to work together. We are found out what kind of projects will be good to enhance that relation and according with the possibilities of our countries and the priorities that the mayor and the government of Ethiopia mentioned it, that we need to do something to enhance that relations. Of course, we need to exchange more culture, movies, exhibitions, etc.
So finally, if there is any Ethiopian music, favorite music you have, or Mexican, you want to invite our audience?
Well, I love the Ethio jazz particularly. I love it, and the way that the Ethiopians dance. Yeah? But I need to move more like this.
Okay.
But I really enjoy it. My family enjoyed this beautiful country. We visited different regions already, and we expect to continue visiting another beautiful sites that you have here.
Thank you, Ambassador, for this interview and for giving us this time. Thank you very much.
I'm a second.
Thank you, sir.